know what your first experience of using a circular saw was. Was it good? Was it not so good? Was the cut straight? Did you cut anything at all? And hopefully we don't get too many nightmarish type stories, but let me know, and that'll be quite good to see. So here we go. We're gonna go through some circular saw basics. I'm going to do a couple of basic cuts, nothing too over the top, both with a corded saw and with a circular saw, and how to set them up, how to keep your fingers safe. So we always start with a basic exercise when we talk about circular saws. We count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We do that, and then afterwards we do it again. And if we get 10, we've had a success. If we get 8, then maybe not so much. But the whole goal is to make it easy and to make sure we all come out with our fingers intact, because there are two major dangerous saws in the workshop, and that's your circular saw and your grinders. Your circular saws, because of your hands being so close around the blade, and obviously grinders, of course, is the same thing. Your hands are very, very close to the blade, and they're spinning quite fast. So, and circular saws as yet don't have a feature such as saw stop, where we can accidentally touch the blade, and obviously there's a brake that grabs the blade. So that hasn't been put into a circular saw as far as I'm aware as yet. So yes, today's just all about circular saw basics. So 2 saws, battery, circular saw that's corded, and we'll go through a cut, and we hope you enjoy this one. So circular saws, 2 types: corded type, cordless type, or battery operated, and pretty much have the same parts. So obviously we've got the motor, handle, dust guard, blade guard, and blade guard. Now, cut deck or cut plate, there's a couple of terms for it. This one here, this knob here, this saw, most saws have an angle adjustment, so that's the angle adjustment there. Okay, and I also have a depth adjustment. So this is on this one, the depth adjustment. I've loosened it off, so you can control how deep your blade goes through your material. Alright, and obviously you want it set flat at the moment. The fence out, make sure your cord's not in the way. You notice whenever I'm messing with the saw, the cord's unplugged and there's no battery. So just do that. Keeps all your fingers on your hand. So yeah, coming back to parts of your circular saw. So cut blade. The thing that spins the blade is called the arbor, and usually it's either got an external nut, or this one it's got both. So it's got an external nut on it, and it's got an internal bolt that holds it in. And these guys are the same. Alright, so it doesn't matter if it's corded or cordless, it's pretty much the same. The depth guide on the back, my battery driven one, is this. So you just release the cam nut, up and down, there you go. At the moment I've got my my cordless saw hooked up to a base plate from Craig for my to make it into like a panel saw. Every saw has a dust sheet, so each one slightly different, and each saw has this angle adjustment on them, so they'll differ. Some are at the back, others at the front, and then you've got the fence system. So the way that clicks in is like that. So you just push it into that, clamp it down. Now the very front of both saws, you can't see it on this one, but on this one you can see it a lot better. You can actually see 45 degrees and 0 degrees. So these are like little peepholes. So when you've marked your timber, just take the fence out, when you've marked your timber, you can actually see the cut line that you've marked on your timber. So if I was to just mark, I'll just make a line back here, and then I can actually put it over there and see that, or that if I've got my blade tilted to 45 degrees. So that allows you to see that. Obviously when doing maintenance with the saw, make sure it's clean, all that sort of stuff. Always make sure again it's disengaged. If you have a look at the inside of the saw there, that's your angle, so you can change your angle, sorry, your depth of cut there, depth of cut. So yeah, that is a circular saw. The way we keep fingers is when we use a circular saw, until we're used to doing it, we don't actually action this with our other hand. You can do it once you know what you're doing, to be able to line up your cut, so you can do that and cut along the timber like that. And then once your blade guard hits the board, you can let go and then finish the cut. But you would not be doing that until you are very used to using it. So with the use of the circular saws, just do a quick cut just to show how to do it. So obviously we want to make sure that our depth of cut is not into the bench. Alright, so what we want to do is move that out of the way and make sure that our depth indicator is loosened, and then we can either, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. You know, push or pull on the plate, push on the saw, pull on the plate, and then now you're nice and easy. Now when you've figured out your depth, always lock the saw off. Notice I'm still not plugged in. Okay, we don't want to plug in yet because we're still messing with the saw. Sorry. So we want to make a cut. We just want to make a straight cut. I'm not going to go into measuring because pretty much measuring is measuring. So what we're going to do is we'll just use the edge. And we'll make a mark with a pencil. Make sure we're straight. There we go. So that's what we're going to cut. Just there. We'll just darken out so you can see that. So we're just going to mark there. So what we want to do is, in case when you're getting used to using the saw, we make sure that we set it up. So the 0 point, which is this thing here, is there, and we've just put the 0 mark on the cut plate in the middle of the line. Just take the weight off the saw a little bit, move it forward, being sure of course to try not to move the timber or the saw. And we just make sure that it's all the way up against it like that, and then once we're happy with that, we tighten down. Alright, now again we're still not plugged in, we're just going to double check the depth of our blade. So we'll do that. Over there, yep, we're there. So just to pull it back just to make sure, again, move the guard, make sure the blade is on whatever surface you're going to cut, and that you're locked back. Make sure your work area is clean. We'll just pop this over here for a minute. And then what we'll do is we'll grab a board. In this case it will be a piece of foam board. Alright, these are great because it saves your workbench. You put it underneath your work, you just need to saw out the way. Move the workpiece out the way for the minute and pop him over there. So like that. Alright. Just gonna pop this down here and make sure that we're okay with the camera and all that sort of stuff. We bring the workpiece back in. Alright, so we're just going to double check our depth again. We're going to pull back our guard. Awesome. So we're just going to lift that back up again. Plug that into our power outlet. Such. And get some ears on. I've already got my safety glasses on. So there's my ears. Already got my safety glasses on, so we protect your eyes and ears at all times. And make sure our cord is not wrapped around anything. And when we use most circular saws, what we have is this button here. Alright, that's our safety switch. So if we let go of that, saw won't start. Okay, we press it in and we start. Alright, just like that. And then what we do is we line everything up again. Now you can either hold the piece if you're confident enough to, or you can clamp it to the bench. I'm confident enough to hold it, so that should be right. Now a couple of things that we've got to watch out for when we use saws is this. It's called towing in or towing out. Now on a small piece like that, like this, it won't make much of a difference. But if we're making a really long cut, then that will mean the difference between this being square or not square. Alright, but for today's demonstration we'll just use a small piece. Notice that my hand that's holding the material is well away from the blade of the saw. That's on this side of the blade. Alright, and again, the hand's not on the trigger, fingers clear of the trigger. That's why I'm pointing at things. Alright, we definitely do not hold the saw like this, or put our thumb there like that. Until we're experienced, then you can do that, but I wouldn't recommend it as a safety feature. Alright, so we've got our angle here set at 0. We've got our fence clamped in nice and tight. Alright, we've marked our timber, we know we're on 0, we've set our depth. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to do a cut. Alright, so we're going to lift it up, make sure we're okay, make sure we're on our mark. Alright, and then what we're going to do is we'll make our cut. So in this case we can pull the blade back like that. We're squared up. We're okay. We're going to hold it down. Nice and square. Alright, didn't quite have the blade set properly because the plywood must have had a bit of a void in it, bit of a bow, you can see that there, but we're pretty square, and that's how you do a cut. And you can do that on this saw, you can do that on this saw as well. But before you do it on the battery driven, you'd have to take this little guy off and pop your fence in if you're going to do a cut like that, because this gets in the way. but this is for sheeted material. So if we're going to use it on a sheeted piece of material, that little saw, and we grab tracking. So there's about 4 pieces of this from Craig, and if we wanted to do a cut like that, we'll just unplug and remove the circular saw, the big one. And what we'll do is I'll just cut into the board. I think it might make it a bit easier for me. Put that over there. I'll grab a battery. So again, I make sure everything's lined up first. Okay, depth is the same, so we mess with our depth of cut for this because I don't want to cut all the way through it. I'm just going to raise it, like shorten the depth of cut quite narrow. We're going to check it before we put the battery in, just to make sure we're going to touch the surface. Alright, so we just do that by making sure that's in there like that. Now you can see that it's rocking on there. This is one of those times where this is where you can actually move that out of the way. Alright, so you can actually, now you've got in a track, you're stable, so you can actually use your buttons, pull your buttons. I haven't got the battery in, that's there. You can use your buttons, retract your blade guard and push through. Alright, so we want to touch that. So what we want to do is take that off and we just loosen it up a little bit. Again, my battery is not in the unit. Alright, we just line that up again. We drop it by pushing it down, just like I said before. We lock it off. Alright, and we're still nice and solid. Okay, we're still on our track. Our track allows us to only put 2 marks, so I could put a mark down there, and to run it. But just for the sake of the argument, what I'll do is I'll just bring the track back a little bit, bring the saw off. Looks like it would be a piece of wood. Okay, we now clear that. I'm going to plug the saw in, and again, because we're stable because of the track system, I can now utilize my hands, my thumb on the lever, start the saw and do the cut. Alright, because the track's going to make sure I'm straight. So we're going to do that. Ready? Oh, might help if I actually had a powered up battery. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Alright, powered up battery. So, again, hands away from here. Thumb on there. We're just going to do a shortcut. We're going to use the track system. Again, I'm a bit more stable because of the tracking system that I've got in place. Alright, we're going to squeeze our buttons. I'm going to come in and do a cut. We wait for the saw to stop, pick it up, and there's our cut, nice and straight, right parallel to there. We can use the fence system to do that too, but I didn't want to mess with the guard for that on this one.